Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill does not affect individuals based on their immutable characteristics. Plain and simple.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Jones, for what purpose?
will the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Reluctantly, yes.
Chair Hefner, my friend, this whole bill is about divestiture. So before you finish your closing and move passage, which I'm certain you will, I need to ask you some questions. If someone is ordered to divest, what exactly does that require them to do?
It's all spelled out in the properties code of how divestitures work.
How does it work?
There will be a complaint made to the Attorney General. If there's sufficient information, an investigation will be conducted. If there's sufficient evidence, a case will be brought in district court. A hearing will be held. A receiver will be appointed, and the property will be divested. It will be sold. Any liens against that land will be taken care of in the order of their seniority. Any fines and fees and attorney's fees will be paid, and the remainder will be of the money will be turned back to the purchaser.
So they're forced to sell their land or home even if they purchased it legally, correct?
No.
Well, what
No, if it's purchased illegally,
Yeah, but I already own, like, let's say I already own my house.
then you're fine.
Like I do now,
Then you're fine.
right?
The
And
bill is
somebody-
not retroactive. It is prospective. It's going forward.
Well, then how can somebody file a complaint if I don't own the land yet so that they can divest me from the land I already own? I'm confused about that.
So this bill will go into effect in September, and if land is bought illegally after that date, it could be divested after it goes through that process.
Okay, so I literally, if I were that person who they determined was hostile, I couldn't sell my own land.
Yeah, I mean, the purchase itself is not void. It's a valid purchase, but an illegal purchase.
No, that's
And
not
so,
what I'm...
sure, they could sell it.
No, what I'm saying is somebody says I'm
guess.
hostile, right? Some finding that I'm hostile, right? So I can't put my property on the market and sell it. A
This
court-appointed
bill doesn't
receiver...
affect this bill doesn't affect that. This is about the illegal purchase of property. Now, if you sold that to an illegal purchaser, then this case could be brought and the land divested from the person who bought the land.
So in order for my land to be divested, would you agree with me that I have to own it?
Yes?
Okay, so I own land, and now I've been told by a court that I've got to divest myself of that land, right?
Correct.
So that's the situation I'm talking about. Not that I agree with this bill, but for purposes of this interaction between us, I want to get some stuff clear about I own land, I bought it lawfully, at some kind of way I've been determined to be hostile and I've got to divest. They say, Jolanda Jones, you got to divest of that land. Do I have the right to put my house on the market and sell it, to divest myself of it?
It is my understanding that you can sell your land. You could sell it.
Okay, so
But
if I...
the purchase was not legal if you fall under this bill.
I would respectfully submit to you that that's actually going retroactive. But I just
It
want to move on.
absolutely explicitly is not retroactive.
So if I don't want to divest myself, a court-appointed receiver comes in to divest me of my land?
If after this bill goes into effect, if you purchase land and it is found that it was purchased illegally based on this bill, then you'll be forced to divest if the facts in the case proved up.
But that's what I want to talk about, what forced to divest means, right? So if the market is not good for sellers, I'm forced to sell low and lose money on my property. Is that accurate?
If a divestiture is not you selling it, it is the state appointing a receiver through this process, and taking that property.
But I thought you said that I could sell it. You didn't say that just a
You
second
could
ago?
sell it.
All right. So, well, but I'm confused because just a second ago you said that I could not sell it, that the state's gonna divest me
No,
of
I
it.
said, if you purchase land illegally and an investigation is conducted and this case is brought before the district court and it is found to have been illegal under this bill, then the state would divest you of that property and sell it to the highest bidder.
Even if the market isn't good.
That had nothing to do with the market.
Yeah, it is. When you sell
it
your
doesn't.
property, yes, it does.
This bill doesn't have anything to do with the real estate market.
So, how do I transfer land? How do I transfer real estate? Is there not some
We're
sale
talking
that
about
happens?
the state coming in and we're not talking about you out there buying and selling land. We're talking about the land was bought illegally. There's going to be a case brought, an investigation, district court, all the due process, and the land is going to be divested. It's going to be forcefully divested by the state.
Again, for purposes
Representative,
of
why
this,
don't people just buy land legally and then we don't have an issue?
but
Then
so
we don't
maybe
have to
I'm
have
not
this conversation.
So maybe I'm not explaining where you can understand. I want to get to the point. I'm going to take everything you just said as true, right? That you say that I'm hostile, whatever, right? Now I've got this property that the state is going to divest from me, right? So that looks like what? I don't have to do anything. Is that accurate? The state's going to do everything to divest me of this land.
Correct. It's all
okay.
spelled out in the property code.
So the state's gonna, how are they gonna divest me of it? What are they gonna do? The state's gonna put it on the market, they're gonna sell it, and then
It's all spelled out in Chapter 64 of the Civil
I'm
Property
asking
Code.
you.
I'm telling you, it's all spelled out in the code. It's how every divesture's ever been done before. It's the same thing. We're just amending that code to say if you buy land illegally, then you're going to fall through that process, that divestiture process. It's been on the books for decades.
So what are my legal remedies? What are my legal remedies?
Not buy land illegally. That's your remedy.
No.
Yes,
So
yes.
the reason that we have courts of appeal is because sometimes the district courts get it wrong. If the courts were always right, we wouldn't need to appeal anything. In fact, those courts shouldn't even exist. So in the instance that someone wants to challenge the divestiture, what remedies does that person have in this bill?
Well, I guess they could appeal it to the Court of Appeals. It's all spelled out in the Chapter 64 of the code. Would divestitures happen now? This just amends that to apply illegal purchases to that divestiture process.
For purposes of, again,
For
I'm
the
gonna say this-
purposes of not having hostile foreign actors buy up land in this state.
I get your talking point, so I get that you're
That's not a
saying
talking
that.
point, that's a
I'm
fact.
talking about logistically. As a kid who grew up and my mother never owned property, it was a big deal for me to buy the property that I own now. A huge deal.
I understand
Because I wanted
that.
to have something to leave to my son, because nothing's
This
getting left
bill
to me.
doesn't affect
Yes,
you in
it
any
does,
way.
because
It does not.
Most people's largest asset is their home.
I'm aware of that. This bill does not affect you in any way.
I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about my constituents who may be mislabeled as hostile to this country.
That's why
I'm
we have
trying-
an
so what-
That's why we have an investigation process and due process in district court to protect
Except
the
for-
rights
ex-
of the people.
Except for you rejected the amendment that would cause you guys to notice my little guy constituent who doesn't know he's being
That's
investigated.
already spelled out in the code. Notices and everything that are there would still have to be performed just like is in the code currently.
So, again, on the face of this bill, without the amendment that said that I get notice, I mean, if it's so easy to
This
get notice, and notice
this
is
bill
no big deal.
amends the Civil Properties Code, Chapter 64. So all those processes, those legal notices, all those things would still have to be performed just like is in the code. It's already there.
So, for the most part, if I own land and I've been determined to have to divest my land, the state's going to do everything and take my land however they see fit to take my land. And I'm just stuck with it.
There has to be a case brought. It has to be proven that you're a hostile actor or acting on behalf of a hostile foreign adversary.
What's a hostile actor?
People who want to do us harm, Representative, it's all spelled out in here. Communist, the
So-
CCP,
In the event that somebody's watching this, right? Because they own property, and they're like, say, from China or
If
some
they own
country.
property right now, this bill doesn't affect them.
So I want to have a conversation because everybody doesn't know about the civil code or whatever. So I'm asking you, the bill's author, to explain it.
I've explained
So
it till I'm blue in the face. There is a
Actually, you're not
complaint.
blue in the face. I mean, owning property is super important.
Yes, ma'am, and that's why we have been very careful and even taken attacks from outside groups, because we wanted to be very careful that we protected the private property rights of citizens that are doing things here the right way. We don't want to give the government too much power to abuse those rights. We believe this bill is carefully crafted and sets a process in place that protects those rights, but still protects us from hostile foreign adversaries taking over our food supply, our supply chain, espionage. Roll your eyes all you want to. There are people in the world that want this country to fail.
If I can't roll my eyes over anything, I should be able to roll it over the government taking my property.
It's a free country.
Right?
Yes, ma'am. You
Absolutely.
can sure do that.
We have a First Amendment right. And my concern is going to be the micromanagement of how I exercise my First Amendment right for you to determine that I'm a hostile actor and take my biggest investment
Ms.
that I'm
Jones,
probably going to leave for my
in
family.
no way would this classify you as a hostile actor unless you're an agent of a foreign adversary.
I
Are you
need to
working
walk
for the
in-
communists?
I need to walk in the shoes of my constituents. Otherwise, how can I advocate for my constituents? And so, yeah, I'm going to put myself in that place, and I'm going to ask questions
The only
on
way this
behalf
bill
of my
applies
constituents.
is if somebody does this illegally.
Yeah, but I actually really do think, despite what you say, that once I own property, then you're retroactively doing something because I already own the property. But that's all I have for
Retroactive
you.
laws are unconstitutional. This
Thank
bill
you.
is not retroactive.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Flores, for what purpose?
does the gentleman yield for one question?
Does the gentleman yield for
That
questions?
question.
Just one.
Gentleman
Does
yields for
what?
questions.
Okay, it might be two. No, because I got confused at this exchange, so I just want to make sure.